What is the worst advice you've ever received? You should act less smart, so more guys talk to you. The Venn diagram of boys who don't like smart girls and boys you don't wanna date is a circle. John Green. Just ignore the bully. He'll get bored. I wish my parents told me. Duck that kid up. You're 16. Slap on the wrist. My parents always told me I will not get punished at home if I was sticking up for myself or others. Pretty blessed there. When my mom was dying in hospice, a coworker of mine told me I should at least let her family know, even though my mom told me she didn't care if they knew or not. Well, I let them know, and I definitely regretted it. The sister and her kids made it an entire dramatic ordeal and had to be removed from the room. Her brother didn't even call or text, just sent his dingbat wife who didn't even notice my mom had already passed. Haven't heard from either of them in the year since she's passed. My mom was right. Work through the pain. It will make your back feel better. It didn't. Anybody that tells you to fight through the pain when dealing with a back problem is a ducking psychopath or simply doesn't understand how pain works. My ex-coworker advised me to have a baby because I was suffering so badly from my depression. She said this would cure my bad mood. Yeah, nothing cures depression like a case of postpartum depression. Edit, thanks kind stranger for my first Reddit award. Come on. Stop complaining and swallow it. No mom. I'm allergic to ducking soy. If I swallow it I'll probably die. Not gonna lie. You had me in the first half. When I was an aspiring educator, I received a lot of scary advice about how school teachers should run a classroom from people who were well intended, but were completely out of touch. The most memorable was from a woman who had been a special education teacher for years, and her nugget of wisdom was to never say sorry to a student and never admit you're wrong. My philosophy as a teacher could never be more opposite. Same. I teach 12th grade modern history. I always start out the year with look, this class covers 500 years. I don't know everything. I have certain areas I specialize in, but others I know barely anything beyond what we cover in class. Some of you probably know more about certain areas than me. If I make a mistake or want to add some detail, go for it and raise your hand. I'm happy to learn things. Just don't be offended if I look it up. No need to go to the doctor. It's just a little rash. It was Lyme's and I nearly died. Edit, it was the urgent care nurse who said this. I believed it. My mom didn't. The next place sent me to the hospital. It bothers me how Americans need to make sure they absolutely need to see a doctor before they go and look for medical help. It must suck that you can't just pop into the emergency room to check your weird rash. Just to be safe. I really hope your healthcare gets better in the future. Also, I mean no offense, nor am I shitting on your country. I just wished everybody had the reassurance that they'll get the help they need without having to sell your firstborn. Edit, someone mentioned an affordable system called direct primary care. Don't know anything about it. Just thought I should pass it on. My father once told me when I was in my teens, don't ever try anything new because you might fail. That's like the opposite of what good parents are supposed to say. He had recently went out and tried a career change and failed. Kick it to see if there are any more bees inside. There were plenty of bees still inside. Worked. Didn't it? He didn't see the bees. He felt them. In 1984 I was told by a friend's mom that computers were a fad and that I shouldn't major in computer science in college. I ignored that advice. It was obvious even then this was a crazy take. Edit, this was literally 1984. Van Halen Link wasn't really my scene though. I was more into new wave music at the time. I had a boss who, in 1998, wanted to wait and see if this whole internet thing blows over. The writing was engraved on the wall by that time. If somebody's mean to you, it's because they like you. Can people please stop telling kids this? I used to believe it, too. Yeah, maybe sometimes it's true, but most of the time it's not. Especially above the age of 7, lol. Agreed. Also, what the heck is the kid supposed to do? Enjoy being bullied? A guy who was stalking me sent flowers to my workplace. I hadn't told him where I worked. A coworker of mine said that was such a sweet gesture. and I should break up with my long-term boyfriend and date this guy instead. Edit hi. Editing here even though I don't know who will see it. Thanks for the awards. Just wanted to answer some questions. No, the co-worker was not after my boyfriend being cahoots with the stalker. C being sarcastic. She was just legitimately not that bright. And, as several commenters astutely observed, had likely watched too many rom-coms and thought it was genuinely sweet. My boyfriend at the time was not really very romantic and specifically had never gotten me flowers. So she truly thought it was a leveling up situation. And no, I did not take her advice. He somehow ended up getting my phone number, one I'm assuming probably from her, and sent me a barrage of horrible text messages about how I had led him on, and I was a slut. Love that logic. Right. I'm a slut because I won't sleep with him, and my boyfriend didn't love me as much as he did. This was back in flip phone days. Maybe blocking was a thing then, but if it was, I didn't know it. So I just ignored him until he stopped. Had a lot of sleepless nights over it, and please, no one ever send me carnations again. 2 birds 1 stone. Set up co-worker with stalker on a blind date. Set up competition for promotion. You should let it pinch you. It won't hurt that much. It was the biggest crawdad I ever saw, and I was maybe like 10 fishing with my dad. He didn't think I would be stupid enough to do it, but I wanted to impress him. The chaos that then ensued, I picked it up and let it pinch the soft skin between my thumb and hand, promptly scream in pain. Dad, laughing his ass off, tried to help, just to be pinched by the other claw on the back of his hand. This cycle of continuous pinching continues as we stupidity try to help one another, then finally we get it removed, and my dad says to body slam it, so I throw it as hard as I can back into the lake. Live above your means. It motivates you to do better. No. Had a sales manager basically say this. Honestly don't remember how the conversation got there, but was told we need to get you some debt so that you will stay motivated. I preferred to live below my means, so I could tell him to duck off whenever I pleased. I was 19. Thinking about maybe going to college or getting a job in finance. My friend's mum said no, don't do that. You know where the real money is. Shops. Working in shops. Shops. Like. Just any brick and mortar store. She specified Asta British Walmart. Asta. If you're gonna work in a shop, at least go for like Waitrose, you know, the high-end ones. Former mother-in-law. If you love him harder he won't hit you. My grandmother told my mom maybe try making him decent coffee and he would be gentler. Duck you, Gretchen. Go on and get married. What's the worst thing that can happen? You are overreacting. They will change. Try to think of happier things when you hallucinate. Yeah. Let me just think of a unicorn. I can totally control schizophrenia. That'll help me not see the blurry faceless man following me in the hallway. Maybe I won't be so paranoid. That how that works. Right. Happy away the illness. Oh, you're trying to lose weight. Just imagine that broccoli tastes like French fries. I scraped someone's truck in our apartment complex a few weeks after I first got my license at 18. In my defense, he was very over the lines, and it was the only available spot. Called my dad in a panic because I didn't know what to do. He told me to go park in the lot of the apartments next to us and just pretend nothing happened unless someone confronts me. New and inexperienced. I listened. Horrible advice. Someone saw it, and the guy found which apartment I was in. He was pissed, but more understanding when he realized I was just a kid to a guy in his 40s, I guess 18 is a kid, and explained what happened. We worked insurance stuff out, and I learned to never take my dad's advice. Edit, I should mention that I'm not considering 18 to be fully matured. I'm currently 24 and 18-year-olds definitely seem younger than they did when I was 18. I guess I consider kids to be more like people I wouldn't trust to leave home alone. That said, they are just as stupid as kids sometimes. Like when they hit a truck and then take their dad's advice to do nothing and hope I don't get in trouble. Don't break up with him. You're perfect together. Spoiler alert, we weren't. Yes, you're so perfect together. You want to leave him. Makes perfect sense. My ex's mum told me to stand under a tree if there was a thunderstorm. Nice try. Linda. Nice try. Be more careful this time. When I was pregnant after a miscarriage, I was told it was probably a sign that I shouldn't have kids by my mother. A big to anyone who thinks it's appropriate to comment on a miscarriage, as if it's anything other than bad luck. 1 out of 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. Plenty of women don't even know when they lose a pregnancy. They assume it's a heavy period. I'm sorry your mom said that to you. I really think though, that you will be a better mom in spite of her. Funny enough, one of the pieces of advice I did take from her is you either do something because of someone or in spite of them. That was a while back. We've completed our family with 2 awesome little guys now and dropped some emotional dead weight in the form of my parents. The kids seem pretty happy, no regrets. The Mo. Artistic source. So you're feeling lost in life. Have a baby. How is that meant to improve anything? Good reply though. That is shitty advice. Because you won't have time or energy to think about how you're feeling lost in life. On leaving a 40-hour-a-week consultancy job with 21 days annual leave to go to a 37-hour-a-week client-side job with 28 days holiday and with a pay rise, the boss said to me, "You don't make your career on your days off." To right, mate. But what I will do is look after my young family and mental well-being. You got fewer hours, more holiday time, and a raise. How did he expect saying that would make you stay? Check out Reddit. I got a similar one. Hey, check this app. It's called Twitter. What you don't know won't hurt you. I didn't know about 3 guys 1 hammer and I was doing fine. Watched it and it still hurts. So I disagree with that. I didn't want kids either until I got accidentally pregnant and then suddenly felt all maternal, implying I should just give it a go. Oh, you know. Having kids is relatively low risk and barely changes a thing. Went to the GP with my 10-month son who had been struggling with a cold for a while and wasn't improving. She told me to rub Vicks on his throat because it is absorbed through the skin and to make him vomit to bring up phlegm. Later that day he was admitted to hospital with bronchiolitis. I refused to see her for any reason until recently when I didn't have a choice. And she gave me the same shitty advice for a sinus infection I'd had for 3 weeks. Oof, definitely changed doctors. This one sounds incompetent. Stay happy. While I was in depression, I told my sister I had anxiety and intrusive thoughts. Just stop thinking about that stuff. Gee, thanks. Don't move abroad. You'll hate living in Germany then. Once I was already in Germany. Don't move to Bavaria. You will not like south of Germany, etc. Anyways, they were wrong. Glad I didn't follow their advice. Anytime it comes up about moving, I always think I can always go home if it doesn't work out, and it has worked so far. Don't say anything to him. You don't want to start a fight, upset him. Thanks, mom. Glad I finally said something to that loser. Edit. I have no clue how these awards work or how to say thank you, but thank you. I hope everybody speaks up in their relationships and advocates for their own happiness. It can be a major hit or miss asking women from older generations for dating advice. After my wife passed, a man told me that divorce is worse. Not advice, but something similar to this. My brother and his fiancée were expecting twins, and they were stillborn. A family friend told my brother multiple times at the funeral, this is all part of God's plan and everything happens for a reason. I don't think there is a more tactless thing you can say after someone loses a child. Edit. A lot of replies about hitting the guy who said this. My brother and his fiancée were understandably a mess that day. I don't know if they remember what anyone said. I think you are so grief-stricken that nothing matters for a while. When my wife died, a guy I didn't know at the funeral said your son is going to grow up and wonder why he doesn't have a mum. Yeah, thanks guy. Stick to sorry for your loss. Relationship advice from my mum. She's manipulating you, my hella drunk mum, to me, about my wife, in front of my wife. Spoiler, she isn't. Spoiler 2, mum didn't remember saying it. She meant to say I'm manipulating you, but mixed it up because she was drunk. When I have a problem with someone, my wife just tells me to shoot them and be done with it. If only. It's not that simple. You have to get rid of the body, clean up the mess, find an alibi, so much to do. Some people are only alive because it is illegal to kill them, or because someone was simply too lazy to do the job. Any dating advice from serial daters? Serial daters always seem to think they have the best advice due to their extensive experience, when in reality, unless your goal is also to serially date and never actually find a LTR, they only have a lot of experience because they continue to fail over and over again. There are always other who has it worse than you. Yes, Sherlock. But that doesn't make the thing that suck magically go away. My mum always says to me, a man who loses a leg is allowed to be upset, even though there are men with no legs. Yeah, there are people worse off, but that doesn't help the situation.